it's running after me. With my life laid down, surrendered now, I give you everything.
Hey guys, this is Matt with Worship Everywhere. We're excited about just telling the stories of worship pastors in the St. Louis area and beyond. So Logan Miller, Waypoint Church, tell us a little bit about you.
Yep.
And kind of how you came to be worship leader.
Yeah, totally. What do you want me to go to, like the beginning or
all
or
the way
Waypoint
back?
Okay, all right.
To where it started.
Yes, the old
Creation and beyond.
Okay, well I don't know that story, so maybe. Yeah, so I was born and raised in St. Louis,
Okay.
and my parents are professional musicians, and so for 45, 50 years, that's all they've done, which is really cool. I mean, it's a unique world to kind of grow up in. Definitely don't have like trust funds and stuff, but I loved all of our family gatherings. We're always around music and playing music together. So yeah, kind of grew up that way, and my parents were not believers. They grew up Catholic and kind of ran away from their faith when they were pretty young, and so then at a certain point, somebody in a band invited them to a church, and so they started going. That was when I was about 10, and really from there, I had a number of mentors that kind of invested in me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then my parents ended up joining staff, and we kind of it sometimes happens where
A little bit of a PK for a minute.
Yeah, things happen, and so we kind of moved from different churches for a season, but went from a really large, like multi-thousand person church to a church plant of like 30.
Yeah. That's a completely different atmosphere.
Dude, it's completely different.
Yeah.
But really thankful for it, because I was already leading on the student team at the big church that we were at, and then when we moved to this little plant, it was like, you're the guy, because there wasn't a ton of musicians, and so I really got to kind of build my chops there doing that, and through that, I ended up meeting the youth pastor at what used to be First Baptist Harvester, which is where we are now. So I can kind of tell, we changed our name a couple years ago. But so I ended up meeting him, and he was like, man, I need somebody to come lead worship for students. And so my sister and I went and did that, and it was very unqualified to do it. But, man, the Lord used it, and so it was special. We ended up with about like 300 high school students that were
so good.
Yeah, that were hanging over there. And the thing that was cool about it too was that everyone thinks students are like, how do we make things easier and less heady and less like experiential,
Yeah.
I don't know, when people think about youth ministry, it's like drinking an egg through a sock or something, and this is just like the exact opposite of that, which is really cool, man. We would spend like 40 minutes in worship, and then Freddie Williams, who was the pastor at the time, he'd get up and everyone brought, their journals and scriptures, and I mean, we'd go in for 45, 50 minutes. So it was a special season. So
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I love that you had that experience with almost like the home worship.
Yes.
That small, because it's just, I think that carries an intimacy throughout your career in a sense.
Totally.
It's just a different mentality altogether.
Yeah. And it frees you up too. I mean, like here at Waypoint, we'll have like 2,000 people come through on a weekend, and so it's bigger.
Yeah.
But I've done kind of like everything
But you
in
still
between.
feel at home.
I still feel at home. We have a campus in Kansas, like rural Kansas.
Okay.
35, 40 people, and so I'll go out there every now and then and just lead
Oh,
out there, and everyone's like, this is gonna be so weird for you to come out here. There's not as many people, and I'm like, yo, I did this for years. Like, I love doing this.
Yeah.
And I used to
do that in your sleep for
oh,
sure.
Man, I used to roll up with a kick drum. This is before like Mumford and Sons got big, but I'd roll up with a kick drum, my acoustic.
I knew they got the idea somewhere.
Yes, Marcus, I'm coming for you. But yeah, so, and I am thankful for that, because I do feel comfortable in a variety of settings. So
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you this. What is the most important thing to you when you're, putting together a set list, or you're trying to create this or at least be the conduit for this atmosphere that's getting ready to happen for, what is the most important thing to you when you're approaching that?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the context and where we are. I've definitely led places that are more kind of free and open than we are here. Even in terms of timing and structure, like we don't have a ton of time here to just like sit and kind of float on things. And so, but I love doing that. Yeah. But so here, when I'm thinking through a set, I'm kind of thinking like bang for the buck, like those songs that just take you in really quick. Yeah. And so that's what I'm trying to fill my sets with. But the other thing I'm thinking is like, I want to tell the whole gospel story in our set. And so, good. And if we can do that, then by the time we actually get to the opening of the word, it's like, it's already there. Yeah. And now, our pastor just gets to kind of walk by and like pick some fruit off the tree, but like the tree's already there, so.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I do what I can.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So that's one thing, is we obviously typically open with like a song of celebration, but then we want to tell the story of redemption in our songs. We want to tell the story of reconciliation in our songs. And, trying to be conscious of that.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I've always looked at it too, like almost like a journey in a sense. Yeah. So, like you start with praise, which is sort of like, it's shouting to God. It's praise. It's giving Him some praise. It's adoration, where it causes you to sort of, as you draw nearer, you fall, which is really that repentance, redemption story. Yeah. And ultimately, you end up with worship, which is in Hebrew, it's shakah. Yeah. And it literally means to bow. Yes. So you end up just coming before Him.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So we were kind of talking offline. Yeah. But I want you to share the most impactful worship experience that you've personally had. I know you've probably had several.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the one, in terms of impact, there's one moment, and there's a ton, but there's one that just comes to my mind. And a big part of my story is both of my parents have gone through cancer. So my dad went through really advanced colon cancer and kind of got through that. And then when I was in college, I was doing these tours over the summer, doing student tours. And so I left for one, was going to be gone, 8 or 9 weeks. And about a week after I left, we were in Gunnison, Colorado, playing at this college. And I got a call from my mom and found out she had been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh, gosh.
And it's one of those things where I had 7 weeks ahead of me of leading worship before I was going to get home to see them, and your mind's just racing, And so that was a really, really hard day. And I remember that night before the set, coming together as a band and just kind of sharing that, hey, this is what I'm bringing in with me tonight. Wow. And just had the team pray over me, and that I would be able to kind of literally be the lead worshiper tonight, And so one of the songs that was in the set was Whom Shall I Fear by Chris Tomlin, which was a big song at the time.
Great song.
Yeah, I love that song. And so that night that just became an anthem for me. Funny enough, it not even talking about it, it became the anthem for my mom. And so then I found out about that. And so then every night we would take the stage, it was just thinking about that song. And as the tour went on, a couple other bandmates had some crazy life things that came up. And so all of us at one point or another ended up just coming back to that song and the truth of it.
That's so good.
So, and two, I would just say, I feel sometimes as worship leaders, I feel bad for other people that maybe don't get to get the seat in the house that we get sometimes. Yeah. Because I'll be on stage leading and I'm worshiping, and it's really a moment for me. But then to look out and see all these students that are lifting their hands, and I don't know what everyone's going through in that room, a couple thousand students. Right. But I know what I'm going through, and to see that solidarity, you just feel like, man, faith is rising, and we actually believe what we're doing. So
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So I was going to ask you this earlier. Whenever Israel would go into battle, they would typically send out the praise band would go first, right? What role do you see worship playing as we're kind of almost like experiencing that rising up of the warrior, the army of God is rising. What role do you see worship playing in that?
Totally. Well, one thing I think is that because of how we're built as humans, like music has this ability to stick in our brains sometimes a little bit more than just a message or a word or something,
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, I feel like we're equipping people, like we're giving people like arrows, hey, when the trials come, and they are going to come, it's not an if, it's a when, that we've got biblical ammunition that we can shoot back. And so I love that aspect of it. But the other thing I would say is like, it becomes a rallying cry for the people of God, to know, man, we're not alone. There's other people that are here, and we have a history. And so even though those stories, like, we're not literally going into a battle right now, and we've got the army behind us, but that's our history, and those are things that God did absolutely do in ways that God absolutely used the Levites. And like, it's crazy to think about that. I think about the story, Moses standing on the hill and Aaron and Hur holding his hands up, I think about that story all the time because I actually tell our band, some of our players, I sometimes feel like that's our role for different things. Like, our faith can actually build up the people around us, and so sometimes, like, we're just holding somebody's arm up, like when I lift a hand, somebody else in the room that maybe is not quite there, like, man, that hand is like helping their faith actually rise and believe what we're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I even love the imagery of that,
Yeah. And it is easy when it's practically easier to raise your hands in worship if others are doing it. It's
totally.
Like, in a sense, like, really all of us are worship leaders.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you sing out loud so the person can sing next to you.
Yeah.
That's
Dude, I remember I got one of the coolest experiences of my life. I don't know. I should have told this story because it's cool, but
we'll edit it in.
Yeah. I got to sing in the choir for a Passion conference.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so Passion's this like big kind of college age movement. And there was a year that they did the conference at the Georgia Dome, and it was 60,000 students, which is like hard to imagine,
Yeah.
But, I'm in a group of 30 people, and I'm just in the choir, and I'm just worshiping. But to look out and see those people, and there's not a face in that,
Right.
You literally, it's almost like you see the army of people worshiping, and that's what I was saying. Like, I wish more people could get to see that, because it's pretty crazy. And then you think about, I think Revelation 5 talks about like the myriads and myriads of angels who right now are like declaring worthy is the Lamb, and to be able to have a picture in my mind of the Georgia Dome, 60,000 people, and think like, wow, there's more angels.
And that's
in
just
heaven.
a drop in,
doing that right now,
Oh
and
my
like,
gosh.
that may be the closest anyone can get on earth to like seeing that.
Yeah.
And I just got like a taste of that, which is pretty cool. So.
I mean, if I was Satan, I wouldn't even want to touch that. I would just,
Oh, dude, I'd be in Florida somewhere. Yeah. Not even in Georgia.
Yeah. I like asking this next question pretty much of everybody because I love the different answers.
Yeah.
Probably the greatest, most well-known scripture about worship is when Messiah said, there's a time that's coming and has already come when those who worship will worship in spirit and truth.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you and, spiritually, practically, whatever?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, I think that some people try to truncate the human experience. So for me, like, one perspective on that is, I'm far more than a body. Like, there's a spiritual realm that's happening right now. But two, just like the theological tradition I come from is that I'm more than just a spirit, and so like for me, my conviction is like I'm going to be resurrected one day, and I don't know what that's going to be like and whatever, but Jesus rose again in his earthly body, and like promises, man, there's like value to that, and so I don't know. So I think about that, and there's a ton of theological things we can talk about there, but I think, well, man, I want to be feeding both of those things. Like, who I am as a person is not one or the other. It's both of those things. And so then we can look to, okay, so in my worship, I want to be conforming to the things of the scriptures. Like, I don't want to be worshiping in falsehood. I want to be worshiping in truth. But also, like, I take that to mean my worship should be more than just my offering in private, but like my worship can be my service to people. My worship can be my justice. My worship can be mercy ministry. Like, it's more than just songs, you know? And so there is like a holistic nature to what we do as worshipers. And when we gather as the church, we're expressing a big part of that, but we're not expressing all of it. And we're actually giving people tools to be able to be all of life worshipers, which is pretty cool. So.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I love that answer. I'm going to take some of it and use it as my very own.
Feel free.
That's good. Some of the conversations I've been having with people lately, there's so much going on in the world, so many struggles, and everything's trying to tear us apart and pull for our time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people struggle with having a personal time, or they struggle in their personal time with God.
Yep.
So could you just talk a little bit about what your personal time with God is like, and then also encourage those who are thinking, man, this isn't working for me?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we were kind of talking earlier,
Yeah.
and I shared, I graduate from seminary in a month.
Yeah.
And so I'm super excited about that, but it's created a really odd paradigm in my life, and I think people that have gone through it will know, but it's like, man, I'm in the scriptures more than I've ever been in the scriptures, but it is also less personal than it's ever been. It's less for me than it's ever been.
Yeah.
When you're writing papers and doing all that stuff, it's just different. And I wasn't expecting that, and so just for me, kind of the raw honesty of it is I'm a work in progress when it comes to that.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, and so, but, I have been able to commit to a number of things that are just like, this has to happen, and so for me, like I start my week going through the Psalms and just going through that. And we even talked a little bit earlier, this Psalm 100, like the Lord is good, his love endures.
Yeah. What an anthem.
What an anthem. But I mean, there's so many, Psalm 66, like shout to the Lord. Like there's so many beautiful things there. And then too, it helps me connect with my humanity, because you read some of these like, precatory Psalms that are like, God, what are you doing? And I feel that too.
Yeah.
There's times I don't get it, times I don't understand, but I feel like the scriptures help us know that we're not alone in that, and know that God's still good in the midst of that. So
yeah. That's great. And there's so many questions I feel like I want to ask you, but we're limited on time. Let's talk about this, because I think this kind of hits at the heartbeat of what Worship Everywhere is trying to do, which is to build a collaboration, not just in the St. Louis area, but really across the world. I mean, we've got people in India, we've got 6-7 cities now in the U.S. that are starting to have the same mindset, and then we're seeing there's little pockets all throughout St. Louis that are actually trying to do something similar, but we're all in our own little pocket. And so you're involved with a project that's also kind of like-minded. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. So, it's called Kingly, and it was kind of started as a band, and it's kind of a label more now. But yeah, this started about 6 years ago, and there was a guy named John Strandell,
Okay.
who I met, and I was moving back from Atlanta, and he had just gotten to St. Louis. He was from Nashville and LA, and so when I came back, I'd come from such a songwriting culture, and especially around the Passion Circle. So many people wrote songs.
Right.
Then I came back, it was like nobody, just ghost town of songwriters, which, I'm finding out there were probably more than I thought, but in my experience, I'm thinking, dude, nobody's doing this.
Where is everybody? What coffee shop is everyone meeting at?
Totally. But I met John, and we just felt like kindred spirits in a way.
Yeah.
And so we started writing songs and felt like these aren't the worst thing ever. It could be better, but it's not terrible. So
it is art, right? At the end of the day, it is art. So there's a little bit of
subjective
subjectivity.
So we started doing that, and we had from the beginning really big dreams, and our reality was really small. And so we dreamed of having more artists.
Yeah.
We dreamed of even doing like clothing and fashion, and a bunch of different things. And the reality was like making music in a closet, which is a little disheartening, but we just kept going.
Yeah.
And so for 5 years, basically, we wrote songs, recorded, hustled. We were going to Nashville, once a month or something, and trying to connect. I mean, even this will come full circle, but it was like 1 a.m. one night, and I sent out emails to a bunch of radio promoters, just taking guesses at their emails, like just take a stab at that, see if that's right. And I didn't realize I'm emailing like the top people in the game who do not have enough time to talk to me. Mm-hmm. One guy responded, and he was like, man, would love to meet you all, whatever. We became friends. This is 5 years ago. And we would send this guy music and say, hey, we think this could be a radio song. And he's like, no, it's bad. This is not for radio. And so John, we just kept doing that. We started leading at student conferences and doing things. And then 2020 hits, and we had been working with a guy named Lloyd Nicks.
Yeah.
And we got this song that we just really believed in Lloyd, and we thought, man, if we're going to do it, we should do it. And so we signed Lloyd to an artist contract.
Wow. Yeah.
Kind of launched the label.
Yeah.
And then randomly, so that radio promoter I had talked with years prior, he ended up getting the songs sent to him, not by us. And again, I've been sending this guy...
That's even better.
I know.
That's even better.
I've been sending this guy songs for years. And he's always like, no. This time, I don't send it. Just randomly, it gets sent to him. And he's like, this song's amazing. I want to take it. And, when a person has given you... They've said no for so long, you can really trust the yes,
Yeah.
And that was true with Josh. And so he finally said yes. And so now the song's been top 50 Billboard for 17 weeks. And
man, that is fantastic.
Yeah, playing all over the country. And so anyway, it's been really cool. But I think I told you earlier, John and I felt like we were working so hard and straining and like trying to build this thing for 5 years. Nothing's working. And then we just kind of like moved the boat a little bit, and the sails kind of like got in line with the wind that God was providing. And it just kind of went. Yeah. And it makes you realize
it's much better than doing it on your own and trying to
if God's putting the wind in the sails, like you just get to kind of go with him, or you can struggle your life to try to go the opposite direction, and you're going to go nowhere. And that was kind of our experience. So
so where do you see that going? And is that open to, like, do people contact you, follow you?
Totally, yes.
Submit tunes? How does that all work?
Yeah, so so the hope is to keep growing it, and we're trying to be pretty particular about it because we're a small team, and so we don't want to kind of overextend what we can actually do, but we're getting financiers involved, and we've got another artist we're looking at in Atlanta. So cool. So the hope's to expand it. But yes, I mean, to answer the question, like, we're at Kingly Official on Instagram, and we love hearing from people, and we're always looking for new people. And then on top of that, so one side of our label is the artist development type thing. The other side is publishing and songwriting, and so we're always looking for great songs, great songwriters, and so if anyone wants to send stuff, that'd be awesome.
Very cool, very cool. So speaking of songs, we're going to do a song. I asked you to bring a song to the table that's sort of been your church anthem or something that meant a lot to you during this past season here.
Totally.
Can you talk a little bit, intro to the song? And
then we'll do it. I picked Goodness of God.
It's a great song.
It's awesome. And it's been one of those songs that has been so deeply personal for me, especially in the past year. It's been one of those songs that even in the midst of like feeling so busy and pulled in a bunch of different directions, that I can personally just sit to that song and just let that kind of wash over me and get that bridge, like your goodness is running after me. And we've had a crazy year, but I still believe that to be true. And I need to hear those words. So even
now
on the
than
personal,
ever.
for sure. So on the personal level, but then also on the church level, I mean, over the past year, this song has really been something that our people have connected with. So I'm excited to play it with you.
Awesome.
We'll see how we do.
Let's do it.
I love you, Lord. Know your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, and I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire and darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. All my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Amen, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for today. This is so great.
Yeah.
Getting to hear your heart and hear what God's doing in your life. And so we just want to bless you and honor you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for being in the trenches every week.
Yeah.
That sometimes goes thankless. So for everything you do, just bless you and your family and your wife. And
Matt, I appreciate that a ton, and thanks for the opportunity and just getting to do this, man. It's been awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Come on.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after.